Hello and welcome to another edition of Fours and Sixes with me, Swaroop Swaminathan. Today we're just going to be doing something a bit different in that we'll be doing a small sort of weekend review of all the teams that will be in action. With me to talk about the 8 teams that will be in action over the next 3 days is Gomesh, Senior Cricket Correspondent. Hello Gomesh, welcome to the show. We'll be starting with the 2 teams that will be action today, that is Rajasthan Royals and Delhi. Your take on the match? Royals, of course, I think are 3rd in the table. Delhi had a huge win against Punjab, both Prithvi Shaw and David Warner firing. Why do you see the match being won or lost?
I think it should be a battle between the batters, and I think Chahal and Ash will have a huge role to play. But I guess it all depends on how Rajasthan used Chahal, given the fact that both Prithvi and David are really aggressive in the power play, not just against pace but also against spin, and they are finding their form, and the top 5 is so dynamic that if Prithvi, David Warner and Rishabh Pant come good, then that's really very little that any opponent can do. And again, there is Josh Butler in RR as well. So DC's bowling is a bit step down from what they had the previous season. They still don't have Norkia in their 11. Obviously Mustafir is doing well, but still it'll in all likelihood it's likely to be a run fest. I think in one of those videos where Ashwin was saying where 220-230 is still not enough against about the KKR match, it's likely to be that kind of a contest, and I think if DC chases, they still have a chance.
What can DC do to counter Butler? Like, what can they? I mean, there is no Nokia, so there is no high pace. I mean, even if Butler is really good against high pace, but still, what can they do?
Unless, I don't know, Akshar pins him down.
Do you see them opening with Akshar and Kuldeep?
Unless that happens, Kuldeep? I don't see them opening with Kuldeep not in the power play, because he's gaining his confidence and Butler going after him, and if it goes the other way, it might just backfire for the rest of the season.
I mean, I think on Wednesday we saw them introducing Akshar in the power play and him removing Liam Livingston. Do you see
that in all likelihood is the case, because they cannot really use Kuldeep in the power play. As I said before, if it backfires, then his confidence might take a hit, and Akshar is. It also works that Akshar is suited for bowling in the power play, just bowling his stump to stump line, trying to pin Butler down. But given the form that he's in, I don't know what any team could do to stop him.
Moving on to some of the other teams that will be in action in the weekend. I mean, obviously Chennai and Punjab are the only teams that do not play in the weekend. So your thoughts on some of the other teams that will be in action? LSG, I think, play Bombay. Do you think that Bombay, irrespective of what happens in that match against CSK, they're out?
Mumbai is technically out, is what I think, because they have done it in the past, but it's really hard to come back again and win after like 6 losses. So irrespective of what happens in the Chennai match, even if they win it, I don't see them, going on a trot and win 7 matches and make it to the top 4, which is why and also Lucknow has a batting that has done really well with Mumbai, with KL averages to 90 or something. He scored yet another 100 this season as well against Mumbai Indians. Ever since he started opening for Punjab, Kings 11 Punjab back then, he has got some liking to Mumbai. Probably one of the batters who hasn't really got out to Bumrah. Although he has negated him well, he hasn't really got out him. And Quinton also likes the Mumbai attack really well. So I don't. If they just like what the struggles of Chennai, Mumbai also struggled with the early wickets. So I don't see Mumbai. In all likelihood, they might win 3 or 4 matches going forward, but it's really tough for them to come back.
Of course, I think we'll have to now shift attention to one of the most informed teams in the league, and it's kind of surprising when I even say that. I mean, SRH. Yeah. Your thoughts and their match?
They both really don't have a strong spin. Obviously, Asaranga has done well, but still, SRH still don't have the spin attack. Probably, potentially, if Washington Sundar is fit for that match, that might add more value. That apart, Suchis has done decently well, but he still hasn't like win matches for them on his own. But Abhishek Sharma, Kane Williamson, Nicholas Pooran finding his form this season for Sunrisers Hyderabad. I think more than anything else, it's just the pace attack coming good for them. Finally, with Umran Malik figuring out to use his potential. In the first couple of matches he went for a plenty, but after that he has figured out a way to mix it up a little.
Are you looking forward to Karthik against Umran in the death?
It must be fun, but I think they might finish off Umran before the 15th or 16th and keep Bhuvaneshwar for the death. He obviously don't have wickets, but we saw against what he did against Russell, where he nailed those Yorkers, but they still sticking to the slower balls, which like if 3 balls are Yorker, 3 are getting tonked for sixes, but then that's the format. So
another team that we'll be talking about now obviously is KKR. They have got the wins on the board. They're somewhere in the mid-table region. One thing that could potentially affect the balance of the franchise is Pat Cummins' form. Now Cummins was an extremely big money purchase, but he's been leathered by all batters. Cummins, of course, while Josh Hazelwood has improved his form for RCB, Cummins is still struggling for KKR, and your reasons for that?
It's one of those purchases that would confuse if you are looking at T20 numbers, because Cummins is not really, obviously he's a machine when it comes to test cricket, but
when you say that, it is funny because Cummins obviously won the T20 World Cup with Australia.
That's true, but still, if you look at his death numbers, it's not really impressive, and it seems like he goes for 49 runs and scores a 15 ball 50 or 17 ball 50, and whenever he takes wickets, he doesn't score runs. So and Kolkata really would want that rather than him coming in and scoring runs. And the more disappointing thing for them would probably be the form of Venkatesh Iyer and Nitish Rana. Finch came good the other match, but still they have retained both of the young Indian batters. They would want them to come good with the other big purchase being Shreyas Iyer, the captaincy material everyone's talking about. He hasn't really won matches for them yet, and they are in a very precarious position. They would want to get a couple of wins to get a head start, because they are, I think, in 7th or something with just 2 wins in 6 matches. So they've lost 4 on the trot, if I'm not wrong. So they would really want to win this match going forward, because otherwise it will be again hard to get into the 4th place where the mid-table congestion is really tight.
Moving on to the table toppers, obviously Gujarat, the Titans. One thing that may be a concern is Hardik Pandya's fitness. He, of course, did not play the last game. Rashid Khan was captain. What's really clicked for the franchise?
I think they've used. It's just that they have a freedom. They don't have a baggage because they are a new team. Gill had a really good season before he tapered off, and in tough conditions he
finally seems to think that strike rates matters in T20 cricket, and that's always plus.
Yeah, that's true, and also I think some of the teams have played into him. They have not really attacked the weaknesses that he has. He still hasn't really scored through the offside, which is one of those aspects of his game that he still is yet to crack. Against spin, he's one of those big hitting spinners, much like Mayank Agarwal. It's one of his prowess. So teams have played into it, but it will be really hard. I'm not sure why they really went back to Vijay Shankar. He's not obviously he's an experienced player and all that, but he's not really proven his credentials for any team that he has played in the IPL at least. So they might want to go back to someone like Sai Sudarshan, who can at least score that 15 ball 30, 20 ball 35, and keep the game going and set it up for Hardik.
That's all for another edition of 4s and 6s. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Stay safe.